Night Springs, the first of two promised expansions for Alan Wake 2, released the day after it was officially revealed at Summer Games Fest. It represents a pure distillation of the quirkiness, oddities, and surreal horror that Remedy is known for. A short, intensely fun gameplay experience that is almost certainly setting us up for more installments of the Remedy connected universe, but never prevents you from enjoying the immediacy of the moment. In reviewing the expansion, I'm not going to talk about spoilers, but the review as a whole will be addressed at those familiar with the base game and its New Game Plus final draft. So if you've not yet had the pleasure of experiencing that, then I highly recommend you do that first. The titular Night Springs is, of course, a Twilight Zone-esque TV show within the Alan Wake universe that our favourite author has written episodes for. Each of the 3 episodes in this expansion begin with a title card telling us that the teleplay was written by Wake, whilst Wall Door, charismatic TV host come interdimensional entity, is our host. But Night Springs is also an alternate reality Bright Falls, or, if we're being more accurate, many alternate realities of Bright Falls. So in playing through these stories, you'll see many familiar locales from the base game, repurposed for these stories, but also warped echoes of those locations, in keeping with the story themes of loops and echoes where similar events reoccur in familiar ways to the same people. The first of these episodes is centered around The Waitress, a version of Alan Wake's superfan Rose Marigold. In this version, which feels like the reality that she's created for herself, she not only runs the diner and performs heroic feats, but also runs the best fan site in the world. But the writer, whom she loves and admires, is in trouble, and so she must save him from the bad boy and his minions. Told in the style of a cheesy soap opera, albeit one far more blood-spattered than the norm thanks to the waitress's trusty shotgun, this episode takes the notion of Rose receiving coded messages from Wake and runs with it in the most delightfully absurd way. The soundtrack, the purposefully over-the-top and cliche-ridden writing, and the happy-go-lucky attitude the waitress displays as she slaughters her way to the writer is just so ridiculous and fun that you'll spend half the time creased up with laughter. The gameplay here is very straightforward. You have no puzzles to solve, more ammo than you'll ever use, and a full auto option for the shotgun that essentially makes this installment a power fantasy. There are no deeper mechanics to worry about beyond dodging and shooting, just pure catharsis. And whilst that might get old fast in a longer game, for an episode that only lasts about an hour, it's a lot of fun. Episode 2 is, in essence, a retelling of Control in a reality adjacent to Alan Wake 2. Jesse Faden's alter ego, here called The Sibling, is looking for her brother, kidnapped by mysterious forces. Except here, the story takes place in Coffee World, and it feels like Remedy took the meme about Alan Wake 2 being coffee propaganda and ran with it. Yet despite hanging the largest lampshade they could find on their obsession with coffee, Remedy here still lean more into horror than comedy. We're now back into more familiar territory with the gameplay. Saga Anderson's setting from the base game, but Alan Wake's dark place combat. The enemy's shadows until hit with focused light beams. As with episode 1, you will not be at serious risk of a supply shortage, but with just a pistol and a slightly less linear path, there's a bit more challenge and less catharsis to the combat. It's still not overly tough, but the enemies here are definitely more of a threat than the haters the waitress deals with. The gameplay loop is built around an extremely truncated version of the familiar survival horror style level design, a semi-open area to explore in order to solve the puzzles necessary to progress to the next area. The puzzle isn't a complex one, primarily focused on travel between key items and the door they help open, dealing with enemies in between. But again, you don't really need too much more for a story that only takes up about an hour at most to see through. Finally, episode 3 of Night Springs is easily the biggest, most memorable, and most complex. It again only takes around an hour, but here the journey we go on feels so much bigger than the others. We're essentially playing as Sean Ashmore, who is working for Sam Lake and Remedy's multiversal alter ego Poison Pill on a video game called Timebreaker. Except that, very quickly, the video game becomes real, and the actor must traverse the multiverse and take on the Master of Many Worlds, who has been killing his alternate versions. Gameplay wise, the puzzle design is more rooted in Alan Wake's gameplay than Saga Anderson's, the looping level design and a sci-fi version of the lamp mechanic connected to televisions that allow for multiversal travel. Again, it's a condensed version of this and not overly complex, though the answer to one puzzle is so deceptively simple that you might miss the fact that it's right in front of your eyes, literally spelling out the order in which to go through certain doors. The combat, as with episode 2, is in Wake's Dark Place style. Once more, you're not going to be struggling for resources to take on enemies, though this time you have a revolver instead of a pistol, and that longer reload time, easily animation cancelled when hit or dodging a hit, makes the combat just that little bit tougher. There are exceptions to this, which I don't want to spoil, hence why I'm not showing any footage of them here. But as well as an exploration of the multiverse and diving deeper into Remedy lore, this episode also feels like an homage to video games themselves, in the many forms they take. At the same time, there's a heavy dose of self-aware mockery of Sam Lake and Remedy's style of making games and storytelling. This adds to the fun and humour, while still overall feeling like the furthest from the constant laugh-out-loud moments of episode 1. These episodes, as well as an expansion of Alan Wake 2, also feel like they're laying the groundwork for future Remedy games. The ties to Control and to Quantum Break, as far as the fact that Microsoft still owns the rights to it will allow, are fairly obvious. But we also get tantalising hints as to what Alan Wake's transformation at the end of the base game might mean. More about Wall and Door, and just an overall heavier emphasis on the connective tissue between different stories and even different worlds. But the important thing is that this is done organically, as part of the telling of the story, rather than in the style of, say, the MCU, where the action stops to advertise the next thing. One important thing to mention is that if you don't have the deluxe edition of Alan Wake 2, then you won't automatically get this expansion or the next. But the deluxe expansion is on sale as I write this, and only £15 at full price, which is more than worth it when you not only get the 3 Night Springs episodes, but also the future Lake House expansion and a bunch of cosmetics. Night Springs is an extremely fun addition to Alan Wake 2, with delightful standalone storytelling that also enriches the wider lore, and will no doubt have people trying to piece together all the extra hidden meanings for plenty of time to come. The humour, horror, and outright weirdness have a different balance in each episode, which gives them their own identity, while still feeling cohesive as a whole. And the gameplay, whilst not offering any particular surprises, delivers the familiar in ways that suit the episode and manages to feel fun throughout. This leaves me even more eager to dive back into the world again with the Lake House, and to finally do a full playthrough of the Remedy connected universe and piece everything together. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you've not played Night Springs yet, are you planning to? And if you have, what was your verdict? If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and consider subscribing to keep up to date with all my content. Like the video that just popped up, which YouTube thinks you should watch next. This is a Patreon and member supported channel, so if you want to become a member and unlock custom badges and emojis, early access to my videos, and your name in the credits, then click the join button below. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.